Hello there. So we're on our way back. Hold on a second. Alright, we're on our way back, I guess. Adepticon 2011. I'm saying best Adepticon ever. And yeah, we could only bring a couple of staff. By couple, I mean one.
One and
and
a
then
wife.
my wife.
And
so
wife.
the only thing I would have changed is I would have brought at least one more person. But, you know, we have a lot of projects going on, and so the budget is stretched pretty thin right now for all the amazing things that we're doing. So, the big news from Adepticon... Oh my gosh, look at that. Here, look at that. Isn't that neat? Oh, I love when the heavens are streaming. So, right now I'm going to just talk, and, you know, if this takes a half hour, it takes a half hour. And that's just that. Oh, and just so you can see them, there's my lovely wife driving. And there's Sarah. She's all done up business casual, which is a nice feature. Yeah, Tammy's also you're a feature. This car comes with single winged bag. So, listen, and that's me. Alright, the big news of Adepticon 2011 was Cool Mini or not. And I had always thought of Cool Mini as a website where people would go to rate minis. And I knew they sold some stuff, but I thought it was kind of just gravy. But they had a relatively large display this year. Actually, the biggest they come. Hey, goodbye, Yorktown Center. Hey, we're good to us. So I thought they just carried lines as gravy, but what I found out was they carry good line. They definitely found their niche, which is they carry high-end single figures, like real artwork type stuff. The bases, Cybor, what's the other guy's name? Micro Art Studio, that do these amazing bases and stuff. And I also found out that they have license to produce them in the United States, and that's a big deal. So no waiting for importers, no problems with that. And that makes them reliable. And then I found out that I could get a distributorship through them and make it like a regular part of my product line. So that's the plan there. Also, we're going to Reaper paints because those are US based, and it turns out that they're doing them in droppers, which for me was kind of the selling point of Vallejo. Alright, so the other thing that big for this event was that my opinion of Chicago changed. Second time we came here, I remember on the descent of the plane, I saw Chicago sitting like a brooding, evil blackhead on the edge of a sulfurous yellow sea, all angry, like some kind of evil wizard citadel. And it was surreal. And I'm not a fan of the big cities. But now, this time, we drove like a half hour to an Italian restaurant, and I was stunned. Chicago is like, as far as I can tell, incredibly clean, well kept. Freeways are good. Everything, you know, marked out very nicely.
We weren't in Chicago Central though. We were outside the area, but it was still beautiful. It was just beautiful.
And this town center, yeah, everything is like spick and span.
So inner city's probably got some challenges, but
I have to. Well, I mean,
they all do.
There's that. And then the other thing I love about Chicago is the restaurants. Like right next to the Westin, there are some good restaurants. The hotel restaurant is nice. Yeah, good eats. So, quite frankly, I can't wait to come back next year. My big epiphany is we've always done Adepticon like, hey, we made it, what more do you want? And next year, I don't think we're going to do some big old gonzo thing, you know, like Gale Force 9 and ship in giant crates. But I think we could do a lot more with the opportunity. And so that's that for this visit. That was a big mental change for me. And so now I also wanted to talk about some things not related directly to Adepticon. One is a general sort of life theory, philosophy thing, which is freedom of association, which means, briefly, that you get to be around people you like to be around, and you don't got to be around people that you don't want to be around. Now, in life, sometimes you know, on this planet, we are kind of crammed in together, and you do have to brush shoulders against people that maybe you wouldn't otherwise want to be around. For example, the guy that punched in my car window 8 years ago and ripped our stereo out of our car. Would have rather have not lived in the same city as that guy. So that's one example. Your parents, can't choose your parents. And you can't choose, you can choose your employer. That's a big one. That even though it is a pain to quit and move on to something else, you can always just leave. And they're really, other than the fact that, you know, you've left your job, there aren't any negative consequences. You know, a business can't sue you because you left. Not under normal circumstances, at least. So really, if you're complaining about your employer, then, you know, I don't know why you're doing that.
Maybe time to move along.
Right. Now, the opposite can be true as well. If you're an employer and maybe, you know, it's not working out, you really shouldn't complain. You should just either, you know, fire the person. There are some difficulties firing people, but anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that particular tangent, but you get the idea. Now, the internet is a wonderful place because now you really have freedom of association. If you don't like something, you don't have to watch it. You just go to some other area. And I was thinking about the YouTube channel, which is, you know, and that's why you get channels like my own where you get, like, you know, 89 likes and 2 dislikes. And that's okay. And that's why it's so disparate. If you took 100 people at random and made them watch my videos, I'd probably get, like, you know, 25 likes. You know, that it would be more of an even number. And so, and that's how I actually think the galaxy normally is run. That people are allowed in the next life to just really pick who they want to be around, and they form communities of like-minded individuals. Well, now I'm getting a little more esoteric, but in terms of the YouTube channel, which, oh, I guess you're watching it on this, no doubt, is that I'm a guest of YouTube. There is no free speech on YouTube. YouTube is a private company, and at any time they can just unplug somebody, just because. Now, they're smart and they have reasonable policies, especially since they're dealing with so many millions of people. But then what they've done is they've allowed me to have freedom of association on my own channel. If I don't like what's going on, I can ban people. I can warn people. I can remove comments. I can basically police my own little domain, which I think is really neat. And so I'm a firm believer in this whole concept of freedom of association, which is, you know what, just be around people that you like to be around. And isn't that a wonderful thing? That does tie into Adepticon in a way, because here you have people coming from all over the nation to be around like-minded individuals, which is really quite wonderful. And I just loved Adepticon this year. The other big news is we are the official painting service of 40K Radio, and we've actually known Romeo for a long time, at least I think 3 or 4 years now. And originally he was a customer. He was doing a completely different company before, doing baseball bats. And he actually made me a blue table painting baseball bat after doing a couple of commissions for him. And then he started Battle Foam, and we started, at the time, it was really hard to get Sable cases, like there were some distributing problems with that. So to solve that, I went with Battle Foam, and really I like his stuff better. And now that we're doing the 40K Radio thing, that really is a solid connection with that company. And on Saturday night, was it Saturday night? We actually went out to dinner at an Italian restaurant with Romeo's family and his staff and stuff like that. So I gotta tell you, that was real neat. There was quite a bit of yucking it up going on at that table. So Romeo and I, we kind of have a similar obnoxiousness level of being very outspoken. So that always makes for a good time. So back to Cool Mini or Not. If that pans out, and I think this coming week I'll have it all set up, I'm going to start offering micro art studio basing as an option for armies, and I think that'll be a really, really, really super nice way to go with that. Oh yeah, that's going to be really, really great. The other big news is Dark Age, and this ties, I think I talked a little bit about it. I did an interview with the brand manager for Dark Age. This is it's a miniatures battles game, a skirmish game that was basically Cool Mini or Not owns it, and so that gives it a lot of like backing, I guess. So anyway, what I found out is that, well, let me just give you some backdrop here. Back in the late 90s, when I owned my game shop back in Oregon, I had a Games Workshop account, and I really started to not like Games Workshop. And one day I just decided I was going to discontinue all their stuff, and I was going to carry Chronopia, which at the time was actually a fairly large game, had a lot of support. It was Target Games, and obviously they have gone the way of the dinosaur now. But what I heard was the makers of Dark Age were heavily influenced by Chronopia's mechanic. And to me, that just makes me in love with Dark Age. And so I'm going to at least give it a try and promote it a bit, get some armies on the board. I actually think it might give me kind of an outlet for that role-playing thing that I want to do. I love the setting. And this opens up another topic which really is kind of on everybody's mind. I had hoped to get a round table of people that have been in the industry a while, but that just never materialized. And talk about the future of the industry. And what I think is, obviously Games Workshop is a very central figure. I have a lot more positive feelings for Games Workshop than many do. However, I do believe that Games Workshop is going to continue to grow, but their net amount of market share is going to go down. You have some very determined long-term players entering the field now. One of them's War Machine, which is less than 10% of the net, amount that's going on. And what that means for my company is that I really think I need to be promoting War Machine, doing more with these alternate brands, because I think it will be healthy for the hobby as a whole to support lots of different games. And I predict that it will, in 5 years, you'll end up with Games Workshop will grow in the net number of fans, but they may shrink down to 60 or 70% of the total market for miniatures being sold. And I'm not counting historicals. That's like a completely different thing. And quite frankly, I'm very excited about it. I don't know who's going to emerge, but I do have an idea for the recipe of a good competitive games company. And here it is. First off, your game has to be big. It has to have a big universe where a lot of things can happen. It also has to admit the creativity of the individual player. I think that's why Warhammer has done so well, because they don't pigeonhole you into named characters. To me, that is a weakness of War Machine, is you don't get to really make up your own thing. You kind of, everything's static. You buy this figure, bam, it's this pose. Bam, it has these powers, no options.
Are we going west or east?
I'm not criticizing it overall. Because you guys know I love Privateer Press, I love Hordes, I love War Machine. And as I mentioned before, War Machine is, they have a huge range. They've got 13 or 14 factions now, and each one has, I'm going to say, 40 to 80 different items in the range. So back to winning formula for game system. So big universe and open-ended options. Has to be very creative. The other thing is the substance. I don't think lines that use all static metal figures, no matter how good they are going to last. Third item is you have to have an actual company behind them. It can't. There's a zillion people that do. They do a few models. They tinker. They're tinkerers. They're not really serious about creating something long-term, laying a foundation and sticking with it. And that's the nature of the beast. Alright, so we're going to be there in plenty of time. I just don't want a repeat of last year. Was it last year that was the hit? No, it was 2 years ago.
It was the year I didn't come.
That's right. Okay, I get it. Alright, so if I may continue. So you have to have the backing of a really good company with longevity.
That's terrible.
That's why I think if Cool Mini is doing something, I believe that actually will work out. Pewter. No, I just mentioned this, didn't I? Metal is not going to be the wave. If you're going to be a contender, it's got to be plastics. And that's why I think Kings of War is going to be a thing. I think that they are going to do well. They were back the second year where you saw the little video of it, or you will. I guess I didn't upload the Mantic Games thing. They're going strong, and they're doing plastics. So plastics are the future. The other thing is scale. I believe size is the future. This is where Mantic Games is a little weak. Their models actually are true 25 millimeter, so they're a little smaller. And they're gorgeous, if only they were just bulkier. And arguably, you could say, well, Sean, GW has skewed things, so wouldn't it be right to kind of go back? No. You can't go back now. It's got to be 28 millimeter. Dark Age is 30, supposedly, but quite frankly, their scale is a little bit wonky. I'm really hoping that they start coming out with, more and better things. Now, I would like to go into dreamer mode at this point and tell you that I do have fantasies about doing my own game. I see a lot of things coming out and I think, well, this is how I might do it better. But of course, it's been 3 years now and I don't even have a line of bases. So, there's a big difference between what you think you're going to do and what you actually do. And that's not bad necessarily, it just means that I allocated my resources in other areas. And the Chileans have a great saying, it's entre dicho y hecho hay mucho trecho, which is between said and done there's a big ditch.
That was hard to say. How could you?
What? Entre dicho y hecho hay mucho trecho? Oh, wow.
Lots of chuchos.
That's pretty bad.
It's a Chilean tongue twister.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have repeated that. I tried.
Alright, so obviously I've had fantasies of that, and I think Blue Table Painting would be a good backer for a miniatures battles system, and I already have some basic concepts and where I would like to go with it. I think our tagline is going to be, in the far future, things are pretty good. Yeah, the end. Yeah, I actually thought, well, what if you had a game where, where the future was beautiful, and there were good things and beautiful things.
It'd be called heaven.
Yep. No, not that.
It's called
By the way, that's mostly tongue-in-cheek.
Happy doesn't sell.
Happy? Well, it can if it's a little cynical around the edges.
Baby.
That's true. Gotta have some cynicism.
But could you have, you know,
Some opposition.
could you have a science fiction / fantasy universe somehow? But one of the rules I came up with is if I'm going to develop this background, it can't be like anything. That it can't be, oh, well, we're going to do this with a twist of that. It has to be all couched, even in the discussion, even in the secret discussions, it has to be couched in the format of, you know, something original, if it's even possible to do that. Here we go. What are we coming up on? Chicago,
we're going
Rockford.
the same way that we came.
Now, the other thing this year was there were quite a few very small companies. Most notably Brushfire Games. I mean, and what a great thing. They printed up their cheese. I mean, just the entrepreneurial spirit of this entire industry is amazing. That you have a couple people, they produce their little thing, they obviously put a lot of effort into it. And I just tell you, I gotta tell you, that's really neat. It's gonna be harder to enter the market though, because I think people are very skeptical. You'd better, if you're doing a miniatures game, you had better be ready for, I'm going to say, a 3-year pull. That if you're around in 3 years, people might believe that you're actually going to do something with it. And what I'd like to do is something where we were making general science fiction models to the scale of like Forge World, where we were doing big things. And I think that would be different than what a lot of people are doing. Yeah, that'd be great. Which, by the way, reminds me, Blue Table Painting in the next year, 2 years, is going to be looking for a resident sculptor or two, or somebody to work with on this count. Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to let it go. The idea of the dream of being able to really create something and have input on what it is, rather than buy a rule book and somebody else has kind of decided how everything is. And I have some concepts there, but I'm keeping them pretty close to the vest right now of what I'd like to do. All right, I'll tell you a few. One is, what if there were what if there weren't multiple different armies? What if there were only one master armies list? Like everybody plays like a mercenary type force. And within that, you could make themed forces, but imagine an army book where there were, 200 entries in it, and you could really, and you'd pick your captain or your leader or whatever it is, and you could give them, the list of devices or upgrades or powers or equipment they could have was, at least 100 different things. And that would actually make it a little bit more like a role-playing game, which to me is an appeal, that you'd be making kind of like a character to lead your army. And I think there's definitely a lot of appeal to that. So what is Adepticon 2012 going to look like? What I'm hoping for is to bring a lot more staff next time, maybe 6, possibly even more. And have a better presence, everything organized better, maybe visually our table a little bit more amazing. Oh, this year, by the way, we had something you couldn't even buy with money, which was the Forge World line went right past our table.
It took about half an hour to get from one corner
20 to
the
30 minutes. To get from one corner of our table. So it gave us time to talk to people,
And I
for
did.
them to kind of lower their defenses. Sarah was a champ. It was amazing.
As soon as the next
She
group
was
came,
awesome.
I'd say, okay, hello, next captive audience. And then that was it.
That's right.
They didn't make eye contact. I kept talking to them until they did and got comfortable.
Yeah.
By the time they had made
We
their
were friends with people.
journey across,
By the time we were
that we
through.
knew about their life, how many kids they had, or if they didn't, what they liked, what they didn't,
Right.
where they were from. It was awesome.
Yeah, what armies
so
they were
fun.
playing, if they were
Great people all around, though. I was
Oh, yeah.
so impressed with them because they were kind of forced to meet us instead of just walking up.
I know.
And but it was fun. I think it was fun, and they had more fun. And we bought candy, and we just weren't selling anything except just a concept, and it was fun.
Right. We didn't sell anything at this convention. We were just kind of there.
We just go there to be there, just to talk to people, and it was great. It was fun. Long day though.
Also in 2012, our goal is to go to a second convention. And I'm hoping things will be settled down enough around the studio to allow for that. Well, I think I've just talked myself out of talking right now. So, hope you enjoyed, got some insights, and maybe have some ideas for the wonderful things that we have coming up. This is almost like a taxi. Alright, we're on our way back now. There's her. That's the other one. Yeah. How can we have had it already?
I feel great.
No, yeah, we should.
Fantastic. That was a
save that for 10 o'clock tonight when we finally get home.
Yeah.